Kaingĩ na kaingĩ atumia nĩ makoragwo mahumbĩte thũmbĩ cigana ũna, na ũmũthĩ nĩ tũtĩkĩte gũkorwo tũnyitanĩire na mũtumia ũmwe wacio makoragwo mekĩrĩte thũmbĩ ti ĩmwe ti igĩrĩ no nĩ nyingĩ. Ũyũ arĩ women rep wa Nyeri County, na to ũguo tu, akoretwo arĩ commissioner wa human rights, akoretwo arĩ wakiri, ona nĩ akoretwo arĩ commissioner wa gender and equality. Ningĩ nĩ twakoranĩte nake hĩndĩ ya ICC the controversy. Nĩ tũtĩkĩte mũno ithuĩ ta hot seat kũnyitanĩra na Madam Nyokabi ũmũthĩ. Karibu sana. Karibu sana mam. Thengiũ mũno nĩ kuona mahinda macio ma gũnyitanĩra na ithuĩ. Tuona ũkoragwo ũrĩ wakiri, ũrĩ commissioner, na warĩ women rep, na rĩu nĩ ũracindanĩra gĩtĩ kĩa senator. Twambie na Nyokabi ũrĩkũ gatagatĩ wa icio ciothe?
Twambie na wakiri. Tondũ wakiri nĩ gũthomera, na wakiri nĩ profession ya mĩaka yothe. Jaji nĩ maritayaga na mĩaka 70. Wakiri nĩ ũgũkorwo ũrĩ mĩaka ĩrĩa mĩingĩ. Alafu commissioner rĩu nĩ ndĩratigire nĩgetha ahote kũrũgama.
Nĩ ũra-resign
commissioner. Alafu ndarĩ women rep 2013 to 2017. Na rĩu ndĩrahoya gũtuĩka senator 2022 to 2027.
Well, happy Mother's Day, by the way.
Sure.
Na warĩ commissioner wa human rights na
gender and equality.
How has that been?
Gender and equality commission ici ciarehirwo nĩ katiba ya 2010. So nĩ commissions njerũ cirĩ ithatũ ciĩtaga article 59 commissions cia kũrora haki cia andũ kana bill of rights. So ĩno itũ ya gender and equality ĩkarora maũndũ ma atumia na maũndũ ma andũ arĩa atiganĩrie nĩ society, tũmetaga marginalized or vulnerable groups, youth, andũ arĩa marĩ mawathe, ciana, andũ akũrũ, othe tũkamarorera hau ha gender and equality. Halafu rĩu nĩ kũrĩ commission ĩngĩ ya human rights, na nĩ kũrĩ ũrĩa twĩtaga ombudsman wa kũrora ũrĩa thirikari ĩraruta wĩra. So ĩno itũ ya gender and equality nĩ tũrũmagĩrĩra mũno maũndũ ma atumia, equality of men and women, that men and women magakorwo maigananĩire, boy child na girl child magakorwo maigananĩirie, athuri na atumia maigananĩirie, na nĩgetha economy kana bũrũri witũ ũkorwo ũgĩkũra. Njogoo na mwera ciganaine, but nĩ kũrĩ mĩtaratara yendekanaga nĩgetha andũ arĩa matigĩtwo na thutha makĩrehwo level ĩtagwo affirmative action, ta kũhũra njeki, na andũ marĩ mawathe nĩ mendaga kũhũrwo njeki, youth mahũrwo njeki nĩgetha mahote kũingĩra economy-inĩ ũrĩa kwagĩrĩire. Rĩu rĩmwe maũndũ ma mbeca funds, ta rĩu gũkoragwo na fund cia youth, na fund cia atumia, na fund cia andũ marĩ disability, nĩgetha gũikare ũkĩmarĩhaga economy.
Hĩndĩ ĩrĩa warĩ women rep, that is the 2017 era, nĩ achievement ĩrĩkũ ũngiuga wĩtĩagĩra nginya ũmũthĩ?
Ĩmwe ĩrĩa nyendete mũno nĩ fund, the affirmative action fund. Ndahotire kũrehe ndĩ women rep, na ndĩ chairlady wa women rep ya Gĩothe 47.
Wow, warĩ chairlady?
Chairlady wao. Na affirmative action fund ĩyo rĩ, nĩ ĩteithagia ikundi cia atumia, ta nĩ ndĩmĩendete mũno tondũ nĩ tũhotaga kũmongerera mbeca cia ngumbaco, ũkamongerera ngumbaco table banking, na revolving funds. No rĩu amwe nĩ magũraga amwe makagũra public address, amwe makagũra indo ingĩ cia gwĩteithia na cia gũthondeka mbeca. Na gũkũ Nyeri twatithĩtie makĩria ma ikundi cia atumia 500, na no twatithagia ikundi cia youth, cia boda, youth angĩ sports, na nginya youth angĩ arts and talents, na nĩ twateithagia ikundi cia andũ marĩ mawathe, PWD groups, na tugacoka mbeca icio nĩ ciarĩ na bursary. Rĩu nĩ twamithĩtie ciana makĩria ma 3,000 gũkũ Nyeri County, na other than the fund nĩ ndarĩ wa budget committee. So nĩ ndahotaga gũcaria mbeca cia maĩ, na ngakorwo na project nyingĩ mũno cia maĩ gũkũ Nyeri, na kũrĩa Njogu-inĩ Kabati na Gĩtero kwarĩ demu nene twathondekete, na ngĩmainĩ Kĩboya kũrĩa Mũkũrũ-inĩ, na maĩ mangĩ ma Ndathimberĩrĩ, maĩ mangĩ ma Kĩawangarũ kũrĩa Othaya, maĩ ma Mĩiri, maĩ ma Kaigonji ya Gũthigaki, my so water projects alafu nidahotaga gwika school infrastructure gwaka thukuru so Muruguru girls, Kataragwa girls, Karima boys, Gatugi girls, Muirongi secondary, Wamutitu secondary, Mere secondary school, Karafa. Shukuru nyingi twa Musharage, shukuru nyingi muno twatire guteithia na bisha infrastructure nigetha shukuru citu ikorwo igiakwo na iko na capacity.
Kamwira tumite gitini kia women rep nigetha tuingire gia senatary. Do you feel gete geke mundu ni afatie ko defend rege kana ne position ya gutiganirwo nigetha atumia magakorwo magikuria into leadership that is where odigire watigire Madam Mukami Madam Mukami leaves for tuge unis nigetha twikurie kana ni mundu ikare hau
ona niguo ndironire tau tondu kiuria kiu ni ndirorio muno nikikira atumia jage gucoka women rep na ngenda gucokio uguo rauga gite giki ni gya kurehe atumia utongoria-ini kiri gukurehe utongoria-ini ri we riu ugathie competitive politics tondu ni wagia na platform ya kuyendia platform ya kuonania no rute wira ni waheo head start so tiga gucoka
nathari itekera guthiathia
ona ndigira cokire nathari ya siasa riu jehere nathari nigetha nayo nathari rehe mundu ungi na nithie riu guku gwa senate nigetha ona atumia tugikuraga ite-ini ci competitive na 2/3 itu ikonekana ballot-ini atumia magathurwo kuria ballot-ini mutumia wina hinya wa kuruta wira so ti wega mundu atureho riu maybe no ke defend rita ringi rimwe no ti wega muno reke ona mutumia riu twaru kwina mbeca cia affirmative action fund ungicihuthira wega no niguhota guthie constituency MP riu twaria Mishimboko ekite amwiri una ni marahota guthie governor ta Aisha na ginya Aisha umenya umite women rep agituika area MP alafu riu arathia governor then ona Gladys Wanga ara women rep riu athiite giti kia governor reke atimia mathie magikuraga utongoria-ini wao
tugitiganagera
nyuma.
Wow, congratulations on that. Senator, why Jubilee or why Azimio?
Many reasons actually on both. Kitabu ina Jubilee. Why Jubilee? Regions shitu. Kiama gikoragwo kihana githaku. So riu Jubilee ri Mount Kenya tugiuga giki nikio githaku gitu. Na ungithie riu ungithie UDA githaku kiao ni Rift Valley no ungithie ODM githaku kiao ni Nyanza riu no nginya tungiragire na githaku gitu na haha ni haria ha maitu na hunyu wake na kwira kwanyu na kungihunyuka atia anza tikula anza ni kuhata uke na kihado uke na uke tuhakera ngina uke tuthondeke nyumba itu nigetha tugie na githaku gitu gia guciraga maundu maitu tau maundu morimi maundu ma one man one vote one shilling umenye maciru ndungiota gucira githaku-ini kiene macio gucirira githaku-ini kienyu so hau niho why Jubilee ni turafataraga githaku gitu tondu Mount Kenya kiama gitu so Jubilee nikio kiama kiria tu wina nikio kiama kiria kiaruta wira na President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta so ni kiama kina track record na kiama kina wira muingi kiambiriria ona guku gwitu Nyeri nikio kiama kiria kiraka bara cia mau nikio kiama kiria kiraka bara ya Keno Marua na nikio kiama kiria gigutwakira cancer center guku gwitu Dedan Kimathi
nikio kiuria kingi kiroka
so wira ucio ri reke riu aria tuguthurwo na Jubilee tugathie na mbere naguo twina githaku gitu gia guciragira maundu maitu and then why Azimio ithuĩ rĩu tũrĩ andũ mararũmĩrĩra devolution na ona tani no kĩrĩra gũtuĩka senator nigetha tũthiĩ gũkũria devolution itũ na devolution ĩyo ĩkũrie Nyeri county na nĩguo kwenda senator rĩu wĩna hinya na wĩna ũmenyo na wĩna ũũgĩ na wĩna ũtaalamu na wanakorwo ho senator nyũmba ya Njuka nigetha rĩu senator rĩ ahote gucirira maundu ma county so because of that devolution riu tura support a presidential candidate uria wa mbere uguthie na mbere na wira wa president UHC universal healthcare even the big four agenda uria president can design it including affordable housing manufacturing na how economy kinyete we now have a 13 trillion economy mundu uria ukuhota gutwarithia that economy na mbere na tikume disrupt you don't disrupt the economy ufutere kume stabilize nigetha ikure so that it grows and it gives us economic growth and also employment and then riu kuri mwana uyu gina wa devolution tuguthura ningi mundu uri ora promise kuongerera counties besha so riu waro the presidential candidate aria mariho presidential candidate wa Azimio niwe turakuhaniriria meciria mo uria turenda maundu maitu mathie magikuraga na nikio riu ithurana turi Azimio riu Jubilee area Azimio. Jubilee now is supporting the Azimio presidential candidate for the continuity of the work that the president has done, but also for deepening devolution and fighting corruption. Tondu ningi ukona tubesha tunini na ndoo yaku no maira ita utiri ugagikura no nginya turagire ndoo itu itige guita mai.
Hihi ri uga turenda guthura mundu uria ugutwarithia meciria ma Uhuru nigetha mathiathie na mbere uria onete. Hihi hariwe Azimio presidential candidate wa Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga atuire opposition. Nduraigua ta mundu uyu ngi wa UDA, His Excellency the Deputy President Ruto, ariwe ungibatie gukorwa agitwarithia meciria ma Uhuru tondu wa President Uhuru tondu ni magikoretwo mari na interactions tondu tariu we expect you have a best friend. Best friend ucio waku ri ni akuwi makiria nginya uria ngui. So ungikorwo ni urathie thabari ri ndungimitigira mundu uria utakuwi as ndungidigira nie no raiharaihie gutigira nie makiria uria ungitigira best friend yaku.
Na wira maya no matindaga emotional. It's not an emotional judgment. It is a political interest. And umenye mitaratara ya Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta yumete kuria Mugathe Mwai wa Kibaki amitigire na riu taithwe andu anyiri. This is very important for us to know nitwahete bururi one of the best leaders of our country, Mwai Kibaki. So Vision 2030 and wira uria muige President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta aruta visioning, and the base and the bedrock was in the Mwai Kibaki government, in which now Raila Odinga was a partner from the 2007 Grand Coalition. Ugrara ginya wira ri wa katiba njeru, the new constitution, which is the framework throughout wira na ina ginya devolution. Framework yo ya katiba ri ya obtainirwo Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga when they came together. Now on a real project area Kenya is a project of implementing that constitution. Deputy President William Ruto, economic model area ara promise is a very disruptive economic model. And I don't think that the country can afford that disruption, and we can't even afford a poor versus rich dichotomy, because we can see what is happening in South Africa. So if we now just take up, assume that he's been here because he didn't learn. For this time he hasn't even helped. And even when he was there, a lot of the corruption scandals, a lot of what is wrong with this government are actually part of what was brought by the people that he brought. Because talent and skills and capacity don't matter. So we better go back to the Mwai Kibaki approach. Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, and then Raila Odinga, so that you have stability, you have continuity of government, and you have continuity of the economy, not disruption. Like now this bottom up, especially because it is not known. You don't know what that is. Even he doesn't know what he's saying. So I don't know whether we need to take guthomithia ciana besha icio cia guthomithia tuhe athini kana ni tutigane na security tuhinge jeshi tuge we no longer need jeshi tumefunga tuhinge tuge we are secure Ngai ni aguturangira uria tukiragwo God is our security. You don't know what exactly the economy and the fiscal space is not very high. So now if you don't have much of fiscal space, ishi besha arerira anduri shikaumaku. So you have to look forward to a very disruptive economy. And he himself, adorege corrupt. Many people in corruption scandals in our country are in his corner. So you have a bunch of corrupt people in your corner. And then now you're talking about bottoms up, which nobody understands. And there is no money in this economy. So the little money available, you already have enough corrupt people. So there is a chance that the appetite will continue. So that disruption is not something now I personally can support. That's why I support Azimio. I know that there might even be corruption even within Azimio ranks. Corruption is there. But there's a big difference between a side that does not stand on corruption, having some corrupt elements within them, and people whose hymn book is corruption. Acio mokagira kiroko makaina corruption. Da mugwaja makaina corruption. Hwaini makaina rwimbo rwa corruption. Aya ri mokagira kiroko makaina UHC. Magokira thathita makaina mbeca cia mai. Magokira hwaini makaina mbeca cia economic empowerment.
Thaingi tukaina panorama.
Nego gukorwo na tufia turageria kuria. No riu nuona aya kanitha wao ti wa corruption. Na waya angi kanitha wao ni corruption.
Ni corruption. Na ngiri 3 cia Raila cikumako.
Ahurwa na corruption. Yeah, arua na corruption. Onake, that's also a big question around how I could deliver the 6,000. The only thing is that nima inodo nirafuja inafunja sana. You know, it is like a big part of the water that we have in our country is actually just going away to waste. So if you close those leakages, then you could have some resources. But not even just that. It is that this 6,000 is a safety net. So even Baba's government will have to concentrate on job creation. In fact, what we need as a country is job creation. But then, ugagĩkorwo na realization ti andũ othe magũkĩona wĩra now. So you will try to give a safety net to those who don't have jobs. No rĩu ti wĩra wa thirikari ti safety net. No. Wĩra wa thirikari nĩ economic recovery and you stimulate business and you stimulate the private sector. There will be a lot of private sector programs so that then the private sector can create jobs. Then so that you have a smaller group that requires the 6,000.
Turauga Azimio no turania difference ya term ya mbere area our president and the deputy were working hand in hand na term ya kere rĩrĩa ma fall out for their own personal reasons we don't know to gutiri ũrũ watwĩra gĩkĩ nĩkĩo gĩtũmi na kuonekana ta muno our president work na leader of opposition Raila Amolo. There is a very big difference. Economy onakorwo nĩ kũratwĩkire nĩ abatirĩte na 7%. Mwananchi wa kawaida no korwo ndarameigua. Ndona ta hena thĩna hau.
I think part of it is that inflation is also many reasons, including now COVID, which then was an international pandemic.
Yes.
That nobody knew how to deal with because pandemics, like the last pandemic the world saw was the flu. So I mean, so we all had to deal with the pandemic and you know there were risks around the pandemic until herd immunity comes. So that has then had an economic has taken a toll on the economy. But also what has happened is also approach to economic development in the sense that you then first build the pillars, then the pillars will spur the growth and so the roads and the railway then become the pillars around which the rest of the economy will gravitate. And there is no right or wrong, it's just approach. Utari gukunyirita gwitu ni gwako fara nyingi muno. Riu uria president uria guka na aria atongoria maguka mauko magiciria niki kirigeraga fara-ini icio. Tondu tari uria tutayai na fara kurari na kiriro kia fara. Now riu tuwe na fara. Now what more do we do with the roads? But what you see is that in the first period of the president and the deputy president, it is true we had projects, but we also had more corruption. There actually has been more growth now to do. Also what happened with national unity, remember in the first phase we had a lot of maandamano, we had a lot of tear gas. So now in the second phase, working with the former prime minister, we had less economic instability, and so then you could do more growth, especially even at personal level. Now you didn't need not to go to town. Like I remember when we had the maandamano Machozi Monday. Na watu walikuwa wanaenda town Machozi Monday. Sasa now who want you kama kazi yako iko town, it means now you cannot
Monday
report.
You cannot,
So there are trade-offs I think that had to be made, and which trade-offs I think are paying in the sense of the stability that we have had for the last 5 years, but also in the sense of continued growth of the country. But even now I'm with you in terms of growth that is related to wages and to direct
True.
That there must be a way in which that is done, and there must be a way in which incomes go up and wages go up and jobs are created.
2002 President the late Moi niageririe gutwira okay ndiathuranaga hindi iyo no niageririe kuga Uhuru niwe akwenda athurwo and that didn't go well.
It's true.
2012 the late His Excellency Emilio just walked out of office na agitigira Kenyans to decide. Don't you think all how we're on ata guguthia atia tondu the current president Uhuru ni arenda gutwira atiriri nie gwakwa monere-ini wakwa ri ndenda kurehe baba athurwo as the project tondu othe matamagwo warehwo ukidehe muthe ugeni ndenda muthure Eunice onako ni MCA ugutwika ndi project yaku. What is your view?
I think the project is not exactly a good view around it, because what happens is that you must be very worried about your successor. especially if you're concerned about your legacy, because a successor can undo your legacy.
True.
So you have to be very careful who's coming, so that they don't demolish what you have spent 10 years creating and building. I know it's very easy to demolish, it's a lot harder to build, but whether the person who comes after you is then going to continue. And it's not just here. In many presidential systems, for example, even in America, you actually do find the president, like Obama, went all out and campaigned for Hillary.
Yeah.
And said Hillary was a much better president than Donald Trump. And even now Obama came out to campaign for Joe Biden. So it can happen. A president can campaign, can give a view around who he thinks will manage the economy and will protect their legacy better. And the one that I think most fits where we are at now, when Uhuru was first proposed, part of the rejection was also inexperience, that he wasn't experienced at the time. Alikuwa kijana sana. So now, after 10 years, now he's experienced, especially as a DPM, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. And he had been in the local government, he had been Minister of Trade. So his experience had built up. He built up a good portfolio. He'd even been leader of official opposition. And I think the same for Deputy President William Ruto. I think that another 10 years would actually allow him a lot more growth, a lot more settling down. Because even Raila, part of the reason why Raila wasn't elected earlier was that people just didn't feel that this was the right time. In any case, there was Kibaki, there was Matiba, there were other leaders before then. So I think even the same for the Deputy President William Ruto. I think that if he, for example, now serves a stint as the leader of official opposition, and then has a stint as the leader of a party, he still has to build his own party, the UDA. I think that experience is going to be valuable for him for when he eventually becomes president, as opposed to now. Now I think that we need a more experienced. I personally also really believe we need a Mandela moment.
The last question. From Honorable Njiru Wambogo, the area MP.
Sure.
Arari on record, akiuga gitumi gia go support Raila ni tondu cio no abangike. No Ruto no aremwo gubangika. No atage kuyo turauga haha ni haria ha. Well, aerere no muhaka tukiuge tondu ithuĩ Gĩkũyũ nĩ twendete mũndũ witũ arĩ metha-inĩ. Nĩma. No
tũraharĩria ũngĩ.
No atakũrĩ.
Now, near what I think is the difference between the two, Baba, Raila Odinga, leads a majority community.
The Luo.
Yeah, that's another majority community. So the pain we feel for being a majority community in this country is a pain that he understands. And now is willing to accede to our demands, as it were. Yeah. So, for example, the 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, that's very important for us. We have to get fair representation. And then it is also very important for us to get resources because our counties are underfunded. The formula is not fair to our counties, especially if you compare what we give to the kitty and what we get from that kitty. So he understands that, and he's willing to be the partner that resolves it, because he already showed that willingness in the BBI. And that is an incomplete project. So Deputy President, on the other hand, got 50% of government from Uhuru Kenyatta to be a joint partner in government. Is not giving us the same offer. So you cannot go where you have no offer. In fact, the Deputy President wants us to just give him the votes, and we don't know what are we going to get from our votes. But in this side of Baba, we know what we're going to get for our votes. And so that's the difference. So we cannot go where we don't know, where we are going for free, as opposed to where there is a deal around our issues. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. So then we have to follow the leader who promises to resolve our issues, and that leader is Baba. So that's the difference. And he, Deputy President, knows exactly what happened as to why he supported the president. So he should give the same deal, give us back the 50% of government, and then now people maybe can make a decision after that. But now we already can't get 50% of government because he's already given 30% of government to Musalia and to Weta. Now he's remaining with 60. So we can't even get the same deal.
Talk of running mates, bizarre, everywhere. Ehihire, mũndũ ũrĩa ũgũthura maybe Mũgĩkũyũ gũtuĩka nĩwe deputy wake rĩ, nĩwona ta gũcenjia gĩtama kĩa president kana gũtirĩ na difference ĩkũmeka?
I I think it will make a difference. Some of the deputy president candidates have a lot of value in themselves, and they will add value to the presidential candidate. So ugiore to example ya Martha Karua, ucio ni mutongoria wanarugama na bururi mutumia wina value we mwenyewe, so ni akugira value hari the presidential candidate. Na kuri agina matarakiongirira value ru ukuringana na mundu uri okuyo kani akuongerera value. Na hau teithio ni turakena mundu deputy president ni okire guku Witu Central agituma atongoria othe maninwo akinina atongoria guku Witu gitaru kia Mount Kenya. Turakena mundu tondu ona ndetigeirio na running mate. Riu acio atigitwo nao ri ni athuri omwe wao.
Tondu kai guku Mount Kenya gutire na Mount Kenya Kingspin togiwa yeah. Haya sabe tutige na macio ma national government tuigire senator.
Okay.
Why senator? Why not? Nio girokire ori governor, nio girokire ori MP. Why senator?
Senator, one is the seat that I came from, which was women rep. Na nidronete adwage marogete from women rep to governor, and it didn't quite go as easy. So getegeke tondu ni gete ureda, in my view, ukure na county, you grow with the county. I think our county will grow to a point where it can elect a woman governor. Sure. Not tukamatengerie. But then also the other thing that affected me is that I wasn't in this season. I wasn't a political leader, or I wasn't a member of parliament 2017 to 2022. So now I'm counting on the record that I had in 2013. That's a bit of a far-off record to springboard to governor. But I also think that the Senate is a very good preparatory ground, as we have seen for other senators who came on to Senate and then went on to governorship, like Professor Anyang and Kiraitu Murungi. So it's possible to also just go to Senate, do a good job around protecting devolution and strengthening devolution, and making sure that our devolution works, and then you can spring to the other.
Koguo no gukorwo ni turiuga Madam Governor.
Nigatha fari. Na tugagigatengeria ugithie step by step.
What is your view kana ni meciria mariku wina mo kuringana na ungiingira Senate niki ugateithiriria youth a Nyeri gukura nakio?
For the Senate, one of the things that I want most for our county ni increased resources. Increased in a sort of big way, which is why we are also supporting Azimio. Because if we, for example, get 7.5 billion or 7 billion, our BBI figure is 9.5 billion, and with really when it is 35% with a good formula, so we could move to
that is Nyeri.
That's Nyeri. So when now the money comes into the county, one of the things I really want our governors to do is to keep that money in the county, which means you employ your young people to do the jobs that you want to do. If you want to build the roads, you let your young people build those roads. If you want to build schools, let your young people build the schools. If you want to run your services, let the young people run those services, so that then you're creating jobs in the country with 9 billion shillings or 7 billion shillings. But then the other thing is to start to process the things that we have. Remember, this is an agricultural county.
True.
We've seen counties with special economic zones, like Kitui and now Uasin Gishu and I think Machakos as well. So we also need our special economic zones where you produce things for export, but not just also special economic zones. So it's going to be a tool, many things you're doing. And I even personally believe in the one constituency, one product. That every constituency is developing, is producing something. We already have Wakulima Dairy doing milk. Mukurweini. So that's Mukurweini. But what about these other places? Othaya, we have the coffee farmers, the Othaya Society, which has started to package and to value add coffee. You can do that at a bigger scale. Like them, they have needed a warehouse, so they can do more clean coffee after the processing. And then you can do animal feeds. Like now, animal feeds are a big problem here in our county and in the agricultural counties. So now, when you have more resources, me the thing I want us to concentrate on is job creation, because the cry here is job creation. The cry here is jobs. But then after that, then would be the economic empowerment issues, the border, the transport sector, the youth in sports, the youth in talent and arts. Maybe boost the arts a little bit more, song and dance, and create a studio. I had a studio when I was women rep. Go back to those activities, so they can record their songs. They can develop a lot more talent. We can do more ICT and technology, and then just more awareness around how to look for jobs, like the public service internship program. Our own governor can intensify the internship program that we have, career mentorship. So there's a whole lot of skills that you need to employ. Education, if you beef up your education systems, it means that more of your students can go on to professional courses. So make sure you're sending as many as possible to the professional courses. Use your TTIs, the Technical Training Institutes, a lot more. Like we have 39. We had 45 polytechnics here in Nyeri. We now have, I think, just very few working. Maybe about 30 something are not working. So those should be working so that you equip your young people with the skills that they need to do the sort of artisan jobs that the country now needs. So a whole lot of strategies, but all of them hinge on resources. So when you increase resources, then you can deal with the youth questions.
Nyeri neo county ya gatatu hari county ya thaka muno. Tutigite the Rift Valley na tugatiga Mombatha. Monererio kana matarania maku kuringana nayo ri niki urenda gwika atia ku enhance tourism kana ugiuka Nyeri by thaa ithatu especially Nyeri town neguo thaa ithatu thiururuka Nyeri ndukuona nginya kundu ngiria kiu nikio kiria kiria gutucokeria after this break.
Tukwamba kurugamira hau tumetegerera
mwirore witu makinya kwamba kurugama hau tuhe ndagika cigana ona. Haya, tukwaragia uhoro wa Mount Kenya, especially Nyeri County, niyo ya gatatu hari uthaka. Ureciria atia kumihusu?
You're right on uhoro wa tourism. Na nikio hivi turakenana Mau Mau roads. Because Mau Mau roads, remember Mau Mau was fought in the forest. So cultural conservation. Mau Mau roads ifataire guka na a marking of the Mau Mau stops and some sort of Mau Mau history that should also help us with the tourism that we need. But other than that, we have Aberdare and we also have Mount Kenya. And it is true, I mean, like now when we were growing up, it was a very huge touristic area. Other than Mombasa and Masai Mara, I think the other big touristic belt, tourism belt, was actually the Mount Kenya. But I think that what has happened, because when our first governor came into office, you know that the Queen became Queen here in Nyeri. Treetop. And so the British ambassador had come on to Nyeri and just wanted to be part of that history. But what I fear is that these limited resources that I keep telling you about, I think that we just haven't been able to pick up that vision properly and to market Nyeri, because we even have some ambassadors who are from Nyeri. I went to Italy and I found that the ambassador in Italy was actually from Nyeri, and we were just discussing with her that Italians believe that they all must go to Malindi. So all Italians go to Malindi. Say, well, why don't you make them go to Malindi and Nyeri? Just so that, because many Italians, in fact, Malindi is an Italian Italian city or Italian site. So it can happen. So we might need to invest a little bit more in that tourism. But the other thing we also want to try, which is why I was bringing up the cancer center, is the medical tourism. Because if the cancer center comes here and it is the center for the region, then the people who need treatment, sometimes like what KU is doing, sometimes you have to wait for many hours and so you can't go back, then you have to stay in our hotels. We also need to open our Nyarifo, the airstrip, to sort of local flights, so that then you have a lot more people coming back. And we also need to do something that is very close to Nyeri's heart, which is make Nyeri the Oxford of Kenya. Oxford in the UK is a place for education, just not very far from London. So we are also not very far from Nairobi. So it is possible for us to develop ourselves into an education center and to make most of our education centers of excellence. So then people can come and study here. And it is not far-fetched because Kagumo High School, many people even in other parts of the country came to Kagumo High School. Many people in other parts of the country came to Bishop Gatimo Gandu Girls. Many people came to Nyeri High. So it is possible to bring back that vision of Oxford and then to bring back tourism. So based on education, based on medical, but also based on environment. We also have the highest forest cover. I think we are the county with the highest forest cover in the country. So carbon credits and those kind of matters. And then we are also very historic. Nyadha, you remember the sister?
Yes,
Yeah, was
Sister
also
Nyadha.
Nyeri, Sister Nyadha. Then we have Dedan Kimathi, the biggest Mau Mau hero. And then we have the only Nobel laureate in our country,
Wangari
Professor Wangari
Maathai.
Maathai. And now we have the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki. So what I've seen in other countries is when you go to Vilakazi Street, where Mandela in Soweto was living, that's historic. There's a museum. His house is opened for learning and all that. Then you do the same for Desmond Tutu and many other, even in the US, the former presidents build a library and build a momentum or a memento around that. So we actually are going to need our governor to do that, to build a memento around Mwai Kibaki, around Wangari Maathai, around Dedan Kimathi, around the Mau Mau fight, around other heroes like Catherine Jerefa, Baden Powell. So we have quite a number of names that we can take advantage of in terms of building the tourism circuit for our country. But it will require a very knowledgeable governor and a governor who wants to build us back, because like Masai Mara is really benefiting from tourism and the coast as well. Malindi, Diani now in Kwale and also Malindi. So I think it is time that we in Nyeri also think very seriously, now that we need job creation, now that we need to have a better economic, growth. I think it's time we think.
Nä tuoe tauni ya Nyeri yo ä tauni ya Nyeri å rä ndrona ta mä aka ä ngä ä rä ä tatå ä gå ka tauni ya Nyeri ä gakorwo ä kuä especially barabara ä no ya Marua Kiganjo Road yoka wega tondå rä u nona gå tirä må ndå rä kä havaga reason ya gå ka tauni må rä kä ranagä ria å guo ukimanya huru to muhaka ukinye tauni ni ugukiraniria uguo ndrona ta Nyeri gukua in the next 2-3 years unless something
we
is
have fought very hard against that. So what will happen is that the Marua Isiolo will have a bypass coming onto the town. And that's why you need to make your town attractive. But we also think that, for example, fueling. If vehicles are leaving Isiolo or leaving Marsabit and going on to Nairobi, then they need a fueling stop. Then that stop should be Nyeri. Again, the goods and services, and again, our agricultural products, like what we have in Chaka Market, what we have in Karatina Market. So it's actually up to us to grow ourselves into a hub. Because if you look, for example, at Kikope, look at how far Kikope has grown, over just being a transit, or Mlolongo being a transit town. So there is that fear around what the highway will do for us. But there is also, how do we benefit from the highway? How do we prepare our county? How do we prepare our farmers to benefit from the highway? And that's the question that we should have. Because you can't quite oppose a dual carriageway passing near you. That is also big value in terms of your market rates and all that. So I think what we can do is think through how to then capitalize on that. And now that we have a youthful generation that needs jobs, how do they capitalize? How does our special economic zone, for example, tap into the new highway? And the Lapset corridor is still the biggest resource in terms of connecting the countries and connecting Kenya. How does Nyeri prepare itself? Because the Keno Marua and the Marua Isiolo is supposed to also get us closer to the Lapset corridor. So how do we use that connection to the Lapset corridor for our goods and services? Like here we are big on production of milk and horticulture and coffee and tea. How do we make sure that our products are reaching Marsabit, that is dry, may not have as much potential for green fruits and that sort of thing, and horticulture? How do we make sure that we then use the highway to take our food, up the north, and the milk also? That's the conversation. So I'm personally not too worried about the road. I'm more worried about how do we take advantage of that infrastructure.
Ta mutumia ri ni atia ureka personally kuteithia airetu aria maguthiururukiirie gukura at least makinye ona korwo ti gikiro kiria okinyite ri at least closer hari ori
ni ni goragwo di mundu wa role models tondu na ithuĩ nĩ kũrerwo tũreretwo kũrĩa gwitũ Thaya ri ni ma identifyaga talent tene muno. Tani ndatuĩkire a member of a school board at 26.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one you can't even say anywhere on it. It is older people in the society who decided to grow this na leo hau ni hotomboria wakwa umire nigetha ngoka kuru kama women rep. Riu nani ngoragwo na kaundu kau ga kuhe andu aria mokite thutha wakwa the same opportunity. Opportunity cia githomo, opportunity cia cia gukura, opportunity, exposure, muno niona ngedora kaingĩ nĩ ukuona nyumĩrĩirwo nĩ airĩtu tũgĩthiĩ seminars,
tũgĩthiĩ conferences, group yaku no airĩtu
ngoragwo ndĩ na kaũndũ kau muno ka empowerment, na no nyende ona gũthiĩ na mbere makĩria. Ta rĩu ona gĩtĩ gĩkĩ ndanyita gĩa senator, twambĩrĩrie kũharĩria atumia for political leadership. Ona nĩndĩrakena mũno rĩu kĩama gitũ kĩa Jubilee twina airĩtu aingĩ mũno marũgamĩte MCA, twina airĩtu aingĩ mũno atimia nĩ marũgamĩte MP, twina mutimia MP kũrĩa Mathira, na ona ni mwenyewe rĩu ndĩraheirwo gĩtĩ gĩtarĩ kĩa affirmative action, because Senate is not an affirmative action seat. So tuthiĩ tũgĩkũraga in that direction, na ndĩrakena mũno harĩ mũirĩtu ũrũgamĩte women rep, who's been one of my own mentees here in the county, Wanjohi. Yeah. So we just keep growing, and some of my, in fact all of my staff in the last parliament, all of them are now working for government. One of them is working as an assistant county commissioner, another one is working as a program officer, another one is working in treasury, the local, I don't know what you call it, the district treasury, maybe county treasury now. We used to call it the district treasury then. So I'm big on that mentorship, and I am myself a chair of a school board. I chair the Gatuge Girls High School board, and so I'm always in touch with the students as to how we grow. Even like now when they were burning schools, we were really trying to talk to them, because it's not the schools that are burning, it is your future.
True.
In fact, you shouldn't be happy when the dome is burning. It's not a dome burning, it is your future, it is your grades, it is you who will pay for that mischief, it is drugs and something. So I would even do it now at a much bigger level, at a more, maybe, what can you say, structured level of mentorship. And I also really love to listen to women leaders who've gone ahead of us, to Mother Karua, to Lina Jebi Kilimo, to Ongoro, to even Aida, Mama Aida Odinga, just listening to their stories, and even reading books about those who are international. Sir Ellen Johnson, reading books about Hillary Clinton, about Michelle. I'm personally more inspired by the ones who, like Hillary Clinton, who've been politicians before, and Salif Johnson, and also Julia Gillard and Gozi in Ethiopia, in Nigeria. So I would be happy to play my role in nurturing the next generation of women leaders and the next generation of women to take over the space.
Nĩ wagweta kuhusu drugs. Mĩaka ĩthirĩte nĩ tuonete intake ya dawa cia kũrebia nĩ nenehete mũno, na tũgakorerera boy child rule na nĩo mahana ta mari marginalized. Tondũ gũkora nĩ twa empire mũirĩtu to an extent arĩ haha, our boy child ndakĩrĩ thĩ mũno no nĩ ũraga andũ ma kũmatch. Ithe mwarimũ witũ wa high school atwĩraga a bright woman or an educated woman nĩ agakũ approach nĩ andũ aingĩ mũno, o approachagwo nĩ mũndũ wĩĩtĩkĩtie mũno. So nĩ tũrakorera airĩtu aitũ marĩ haha igũrũ, na nĩ ũndũ wa mihadarati, na tondũ andũ arĩa maranyua ndawa cia kũrebia aingĩ nĩ anake. We waingĩra senate rĩ, hihi rĩ nĩ ũkarora kana ũkuga ũcio ti wĩra wakwa?
Niĩ na wakwa tondũ society ĩno nĩ society yakwa, na ona niĩ ndĩ nyina wa airĩtu na nyina wa anake, so na nĩ ngwĩrire we want an equal society of boys and girls. No niĩ hakwa no nyone, ta rĩu nĩ ngenaga mũno ũrĩa kĩama kĩambĩrĩirie male modeling. Tondũ anake aya makũbatara male role models nĩgetha mone how to bring up families, how to behave to arĩa maithe behave. So angĩkorwo maithe matira behave wega rĩ, then our young men are not going to behave well. So no nyende that wholesome conversation. Ta rĩu gũkũ nĩ ndĩrakena nĩ ndĩrathiĩte ihũrũrũ ira, na ndĩrona rehab ĩrĩa gavana witũ athondekete, maybe to strengthen rehab station, na tũthondeke nyingĩ tondũ thĩna ũyũ ũkĩrĩ across the county. But na turwe na watho tondũ again drugs itibataire gũkorwo ikĩendio thukuru and other places like those. Then kuma hau rĩ tũgĩkorwo na empowerment, because drug and alcohol abuse is also an indicator of lack of economic employment. So then we have to deal with all of those problems. But yeah, it concerns me. Of course, me, because of being a women rights advocate, I don't believe that we have empowered the girls sufficiently, because we actually haven't. I mean, look at this election. How many women are up for governorship? How many women are up for senator? That should tell you that not yet.
Ironically, tutina mutumia urarugama giti kia MP Nyeri.
Yeah. Tuna mwe Mathira.
Nyeri County.
Yeah,
there is none.
We have one in Mathira.
Oh,
in the Jubilee.
Mathira, yeah.
But that also tells you, you see how even you have to look
Yeah.
Nataka kumulika na toshi.
Nyeri town
Because
we
women
don't
are all
have.
over, yeah.
Othaya.
Yeah, but Nyeri town, but MCAs we have.
MCAs
because
we have
Julia
priority,
also running
yeah.
here. So it is not true that the women or the girl child is a lot more empowered. What we actually need is empowerment programs for both boys and girls. That we do need. But we have to continue on the girl child because remember the teenage pregnancies that hit us in COVID. It actually just showed that we still have to put more emphasis on the girl child. And then some employment mechanisms like Boda Boda have also come with negative social effects around gender-based violence for our young women. But both are important, both boys and girls, and we must have programs that are responsive to the needs of each. And we must, like here in Nyeri County, we have to fight drugs. Because the border, the Mukoroini, I find that problem a lot on the border. There with Muranga and Kirinyaga. And I find a bit of that problem in Chinga. Or actually all our border and a bit of that problem in Gakawa. And even now with the school banning, nitwahotire kumenya ati mathina macio tondũ thukuru ĩyo ndĩkia wa bodi airĩtu arĩa mendaga gũcina nĩtwakorire fagi is one of the problems na rĩu ũgĩkora airĩtu mena fagi rĩu anake
kwĩna ndawa ciothe kũrĩo
so no nginya tũrũe borithi matũteithie mũno tũrũe na andũ matikenderie ciana citũ njohi na fagi. It is really just actually go hope for iguru hari handu mwaki wao gako we munena nene tondu what are you doing selling drugs?
You're spoiling the society.
Spoiling the society.
Ore mutumia re.
And just one other thing that I forgot to say here is also the, you know, we lead in suicides, and suicides are mental health problems. So I think we also have to deal with mental health. Today is the beginning of the Nurses Week. Just borrowing from the selfless service of Florence Nightingale. So mental health is then a big issue for us. Mental health must be something that we pay particular attention to. And sometimes alcohol and drugs are then indicators or symptoms or part of the problem with mental health.
Ore mutumia re hihi ne challenges ile kuishi ushambanitie nacio kiraine politics ine we find like back in 2000 was it in 16 when you had a baby?
That's true, 2016.
And our late governor comes all over.
Yeah, sure.
How does that feel na ukoraga ne challenges ile ko ushambanagia nacio hihi ile politics ne huthu hari atumia kana need to hari atumia as compared to men?
Need to hari men. I mean need to hari atumia and easier for men. Na nĩ maũndũ maingĩ ta rĩu nĩ maũndũ macio ma family. Mũciari wa mutumia rĩ nĩ expected gũkorwo ari closer to the family, and then now childbearing is also just a female.
Yeah, true.
The problem I had for myself, Kanini or Kabando or Gujiri, would not have that problem. Only I can give birth, and only I would have to give birth as a parliamentarian.
True.
So that has its challenges. Nairumi kurumo along the lines of your gender na kurumiro family. So those are some of the challenges that women face that men don't face. And then women also face the other problem, double standards of judgment. You know, reu matira judge na maudu mao ma extraneous, but when you judge na maudu extraneous.
True.
Reu kuona mwihubire, you know, reu reu mekira shati na mufuto, they are ready to go. Reu no ginya wecirie carefully.
Wecirie ure kiracio.
Kwehuba so siasa hau ni tuhagira atimia no ri wega wa hori o ri turathi tukikuraga siasa ine no guo maudu maya marathi makihuthaga uria kahiga gakuru no guo riu season ino uria maybe ndaiguaga season ya 2013 na ino season I'm a bit ni gura kurite ni a bit tougher. I can respond, I can say yes and no to what I don't like. I have better protection in the family level. I have actually better protection also from the state. So it's much better. So I think twikare tukimenyagira tutigatigire moritu maya ri matigatume twehere moritu maya ri matuhe hinya na moritu maya mahane mahiga maria wikagirio o maikia ihiga ukarihuthira kwambata o maikia ihiga ukarihuthira kwambata o maikia ihiga ukarihuthira kwambata ndugetigire na no njire atumia arĩa othe mari siasa-inĩ rita rĩrĩa na gũkũ gwitũ Nyeri matigetigire.
Ningĩenda mũno gũikara nawe no mathaa maitũ nĩ mararega nĩ tũgũgwĩta rĩngĩ na tũkĩrĩkĩrĩria rĩ ndĩenda warĩrie mũikari wa Nyeri County na ũkĩrĩkia warĩrie mwana wa kairĩtu.
Reke njarĩrie aikari a Nyeri County na andũ othe maratũthikĩrĩria na mũno aikari a Nyeri ndĩmathaithe mũno gĩtĩ gĩkĩ gĩa senator makorwo makirora senator ũrĩa ũkũhota kũruta wĩra, senator ũrĩa ũkũhota gũcaria mbeca cia county, senator ũrĩa ũkũhota kũmenyerera mbeca cia county, na senator ũcio ti ũngĩ nĩ Nyokabi. Ndĩmahoe othe metikire guthura Senator Nyoks. Nake mwana wa kairĩtu ndĩmwĩre athiĩ na mbere na kwĩyũmia, anyite gĩthomo gĩake wega na ndagetigĩre maũndũ maya marĩ gũkũ bũrũri-inĩ, mawĩra marĩ ho ma athuri na atumia. We nĩ anyite gĩthomo gĩake na anyite ũtumia wake wega, na mwana wa kairĩtu ndagetikĩre gũkomwo nake atakinyĩtie mĩaka 18, age of sexual consent, nigetha akorwo akinyĩte mĩaka ya gũthiĩ secondary na mathiĩ magithomaga na magithiĩ makirutaga wĩra ũrĩa gũkĩendekana, tondũ the future is bright for our women.
Kwanza tumkaribishe. Well, kĩu giuma gĩikaro gitũ na Madam Nyokabi, o ũrĩa ngũmwĩrĩte nĩ mwaigua matanya make arĩ kĩrũgama senator. Hihi rĩ nĩ akinyĩtie kiro wega kana mũkuona atĩa? Well,